height at the withers by about 10 to 17%. Balanced, strong nerves, sure of itself, uninhibited, and, except upon provocation, of absolutely good nature. It must also be vigilant and docile, to be suitable as a dog for accompaniment, a watchdog, guard dog, service dog, and sheepdog. Besides, it must possess courage, combativeness, and constitution. The head is cuneiform and proportionate to the dog's size, length approximately 40% of the height at the withers, without being stocky or too elongated, on the whole lean and moderately wide between the ears. The front, viewed from both the front as well as from the side, appears only slightly convex, with or without a slightly traced median sulcus. The cranium-muzzle ratio is 50 to 50%. The width of the cranium corresponds approximately to its length. Viewed from above, the head narrows evenly towards the cuneiform muzzle, from the ears to the nose, with a not very accentuated nasofrontal stop. The jaw and mandible are well developed and strong. The nasal channel is straight. A sunken or montonina nasal channel is undesired. The lips are taut, well matched, and are dark in color. The nose must be black. The dentition must be strong, healthy, and complete, 42 teeth in compliance with the dental formula. The German Shepherd dog has scissor-type dentition. That is, the incisors of the jaw must scissor-match those of the mandible. Pincer-shaped dentition, or one protruding above or below, is to be considered as defective. The same applies to wide interstices between the teeth, spaced-out position of the teeth. The straight-line arrangement, not slightly arched, of the incisors is also defective. The jaw and mandible must be well developed and strong, so that the teeth are deeply set into the gums. The eyes are of average size, slanting, slightly oblique, and not protruding. Eye color must be as dark as possible. Light, piercing eyes are undesired, since they alter the dog's expression. The ears of the German Shepherd are of average size, held erect, turned in the same direction, not inserted sideways, with pointed ends. The auricles are directed forwards. Hanging and bent ears are undesired. The ears held back during movement or in the rest position are not considered as defective. The neck must be strong, muscular, and without dewlap. Its inclination as regards the torso, that is on the horizontal, corresponds to around 45 degrees. The torso, the upper line develops without appreciable interruptions from the insertion of the neck towards the prominent withers and the dorsum, slightly inclined as regards the horizontal, until the slightly inclined crupper. The dorsum is solid, strong, and very muscular. The kidney is wide, strong, and very muscular. The crupper must be long and slightly inclined, around 23 degrees as regards the horizontal, and runs without interruption of the upper line towards the junction of the tail. The chest must be moderately wide, with the lower part as long as possible and well developed. The thoracic height must correspond to 45 to 48% of the height at the withers. The ribs must be moderately convex. Both a barrel chest as well as a flat one are considered as defects. The tail must arrive at least up to the height of the hock, but not beyond the middle of the metatarso. The lower part is covered by slightly longer hair and is carried hanging, slightly bent into an arch, whereas when the dog is excited or in motion, the tail is carried lifted, however not beyond the horizontal. Corrective surgery is prohibited. The limbs. Viewed from all sides, the front limbs are straight, and viewed from the front, absolutely parallel. The scapula and humerus are of equal length and adhere well to the torso by means of strong musculature. The scapular-humeral angulation is ideally 90 degrees, normally up to 110 degrees. Both while at rest as well as in motion, the elbows must neither be open outwards nor too adherent. Viewed from all sides, the forelegs are straight, lean, muscular, and absolutely parallel to each other. The metacarpa has a length of around 1/3 of the foreleg and forms an angle of around 20 to 22 degrees with this. A metacarpo that is too inclined, more than 22 degrees, or too little inclined, less than 20 degrees, impairs output, particularly stamina. The feet are rounded, well closed and arched. The plantar of the foot is hard but not rough. The claws are strong and dark coloured. The back limbs are in a slightly rear position, while the plumb lines, viewed from behind, must be parallel to each other. The femur and tibia are of approximately the same length and form an angle of around 120 degrees. The thigh is strong and well muscled. The hocks are strong and solid, and the metatarso is perpendicular to the hock. Movement. The German Shepherd is a trotter. The limbs must be in harmony with each other, in length and angulations, so as to allow the rear to be carried up to the level of the torso, and the front lengthens as widely without substantial shifts in the upper line. Every tendency to an excessive angulation of the rear decreases the solidity and stamina and accordingly compromises its fitness for use. The proportions and correct angulations allow a spacious and skimming movement on the ground, so as to give the observer the impression of a very fluid and smooth procedure. In a calm and even trot, with the head outstretched forwards and the tail lifted slightly, an upper elastic line and without interruption can be observed which, departing from the point of the ears through the neck and the torso, goes on until the end of the tail. Hip dysplasia. Hip dysplasia, understood as an abnormal development of the cox femoral joint, is a pathology characterized by the alteration of the normal relations between the head of the femur and the acetobular cavity. From a clinical viewpoint, the dysplasia shows a variable symptomatology depending on its seriousness, from a light limp that shows up during intense physical exercise, up to extremely serious forms where the dog is unable to maintain the quadrupedal station. An alteration of the trotting movement also occurs, where the tendency to cross the rear limbs can be seen, and during running the gait turns into hopping, since the dog protects the affected joint by replacing normal locomotion with movements that require less hip motility. The skin is adherent and can be lifted but without forming folds. For German Shepherd dogs, the correct hair is of the hard type with underfur. The covering hair should be as dense as possible, hard and very adherent. On the head, inside the ears, on the forelimbs, the feet and digits, the hair must be short, while it should be a little longer and thick on the neck. On the rear part of the limbs, the hair lengthens respectively until the joint of the carpus and up to the hock. Moderate trousers are formed on the rear part of the thighs. The colours admitted are black with red-brown dapple, brown, yellow up to light grey, single colour black and grey with darker grey shades, black saddle and mask. Small white patches on the chest are admitted but not desirable, like also the insides of very fair limbs. With each colour type, the nose must always be black. The absence of a mask, light to piercing eyes, light patches up to whitish on the chest and on the insides of the limbs, light claws and a red tail tip are all signs of poor pigmentation. The underfur is of slightly grey shade. The colour white is not admitted. Size, weight. For males, height at the withers from 60 to 65 centimeters, weight from 30 to 40 kilograms. For females, height at the withers from 55 to 60 centimeters, weight from 22 to 32 kilograms. The males must possess two normally developed testicles, both fully situated in